Okay, so thank you for coming. So today I will present my talk, which has one of the longest titles of the conference, Automatic Differentiation of Non-Holonomic Fast Marching for Computing Most Threatening Trajectories Under Sensors Surveillance. So this is joint work with Thales Research and Technology, and I do mostly the algorithmic part, and Joan Dreo finds the applications. Okay, so let's give you first the applications. So we are interested in surveillance problems where you have two players. So there is one player who places sensors, and one player who wants to move in a region without being detected for by the sensors. So it has applications in shoplifting, but that's not really the main use case. Okay, so our objective is to optimize the sensors locations. So we will see some nonlinear optimization in this talk to maximize a probability of detection with two players. So there will be a little bit of game theory too. And we will make a worst case assumption. We will assume that player gamma knows where the sensors are and tries to avoid them optimally. So there will be some motion planning too. So what are the applications? Well, in Thales Research, they mostly think themselves as the player Xi, who places the sensors. So they work a lot on radars, sonars, and cameras. But there are also other possible applications where you are player gamma and you want to avoid the sensors, or you want to navigate a supertanker, and in this case it's the contrary. You want to stay close to the sensors, to stay on a route where you are close to, always close to someone. Okay, so now the game theory setting. So it's very, very simple. We are just considering a max-min game. So max-min zero-sum game. So the objective of this talk is to compute a quantity k of xi gamma, which is the maximum over all little xi of the minimum over all little gamma of some quantity k of little xi and little gamma. So player xi plays first. He places the sensors, and he has no information on what the opponent will do. And player gamma plays second, so he knows what the previous player did. He knows where the sensors are, and he does the worst case for these sensors. And the interpretation of this quantity is that the exponential of minus this is the probability of not detecting the move gamma with the sensors xi. So this is, well, the exponential of minus this is the probability of detection failure. So the specific form of this functional and of the strategies are discussed next. So this functional, it will be a path energy. So the integral from 0 to t of gamma, so the parameterization time, the terminal time of the path gamma, because gamma will be a path, the motion described by a curve. Okay, so the integral over the path time of a cost, which depends on the path position, so the second player position, the tangent, and the curvature, the acceleration. So the strategy for the second player is here it will be a closed loop. So the second player wants to enter the area, visit some key point, maybe grab something, and then exit the area, and he does not want to be detected in this process. And the path is parameterized at unit speed, unit Euclidean speed, and the terminal time is 3. Okay, so that's for the second player. And the first player, well, he chooses the cost function. So we will see several choices of cost functions. So now, what is the interpretation of this cost function? Why do we want to consider this type of structure? Well, so we consider a cost function on path that depends on position, tangent, and curvature. For simplicity, in practice, it will be a product of two cost functions, one which depends only on position and orientation, and one which depends only on acceleration, which here is curvature, since the path is parameterized at unit speed. Okay, and we want to include position in the cost because we want to penalize paths that are close to the sensors. So here one may imagine that there is a camera here and a camera here, and that they have a 360-degree field of view, but they cannot see behind walls. So when you move here, you are fine. Then here, you are not so far from the cameras, and then here you are fine again. Okay, so the cost depends on the position. And it depends also on orientation, because in the applications to radar detection, the radar signature of a plane strongly depends in a non-convex way on the orientation, on the relative orientation of the plane and of the radar. So this is called the radar cross-section, and it's okay, and it depends very strongly. So here you have a logarithmic scale. So the radar response of the plane varies by several orders of magnitude, depending on the relative orientation of the plane and of the radar. So you really want to take into account the orientation of the player gamma, of the path of the player gamma, because it has a big influence on the probability of detection. Okay, and finally we want to take into account navigation constraints. We want to take into account the acceleration, which again is curvature, because of course our plane, like the car of Remco in the first talk, cannot move sideways, even though this might help reduce the radar cross-section. The plane has to go straight in front of itself. Okay, so we need to penalize the second order quantity. Okay, so a bit more about the curvature penalization. So here we assume that there is no intervention from the first player. So we assume that we only have a curvature dependent cost and forget about the sensors. And I display 3 different types of cost functions depending on curvature. So the simplest thing that was done in previous works is to not take into account curvature, and in that case the shortest path from the blue point to the red point and back is a succession of straight lines, and then you take the same path on the way back. Now there is another model that we call the reed-shaped forward model, which allows you to which penalize curvature in a more or less linear way. So for very large curvature, for very large x seconds, this grows linearly with x seconds. And so with this model, curvature is penalized. The path is a bit smoother, but nevertheless, you can still rotate in place if you need to. Here there is an in-place rotation, because if you rotate in place, then curvature becomes a Dirac, but this is okay since this only grows linearly with curvature. And then the third model that I want to consider is called Dubin's model. And in this case, you have a very strong constraint on curvature. The curvature cannot exceed some threshold, and the path is rejected if the curvature exceeds this threshold. So the minimal loop here is a succession, as you can see, of circles, portions of circles, and then straight lines. Okay, so this is to show the importance of curvature penalization in these path planning problems. Okay, so now we have 3 tools in order to address this problem. 3 mathematical tools that will help us provide a good PDE formulation for this problem and then solve it. The first tool is dimension lifting. So up to now I considered paths in the plane, but a very important trick that was also in the first talk is to lift this path into the manifold R2 times S1 to add an orientation coordinate. So the path becomes a 3-dimensional path which has 2 physical coordinates and 1 angular coordinate. And then we encode the cost of interest to us into a degenerate quasimetric F, so which describes a generalized norm. So if the physical velocity is a unit vector aligned with the current angle, then the norm of the tangent vector x dot theta dot, so with the physical velocity x dot and an angular velocity theta dot at the point x theta, is what you expect. Is given by the cost function from before, because with a slight abuse of notation, because essentially theta is like x dot. So x dot was a unit vector, and now it's replaced with an orientation theta in S1. And now, if x dot is not a unit vector, when in this case you need to extend f. So we extend it by positive homogeneity and by lower semi-continuity. And by doing this, we get a metric such that the length of a path, which is measured like this, so the integral of the norm of the tangent vector at the current point measured according to the metric, well, the length of this path, it will coincide with the energies that we had before, but now it only involves first order derivatives, which will allow us to use the machinery of Econal equations, etc. Okay, so we have these 3 tools. So instead of looking for a minimal planar path minimizing a second order energy, we look for a 3-dimensional path minimizing a first order energy. And and now this quantity that we want to optimize, that we want to maximize for the first player psi, we can express it using distance maps. So a distance map, so I introduce the first distance map, which is the distance from the source point with the blue point. With all possible orientations. Here there are only two good orientations. And using backtracking, I can get all minimal paths from the blue point to the red point. I do the same, but in reverse. And then I glue a path from the blue point to the red point and a path from the red point to the blue point to obtain a closed loop, which was my objective in the beginning. Okay, so the function that we want to maximize, we can now express it in terms of two functions which are distance maps and which can be computed by solving Aconal equations, generalized Aconal equations. Okay, so just a few words on how you do on what is the Aconal equation. Well, you need to consider the metric that we introduced, take its dual, compute it explicitly. There is a simple explicit expressions, and then you get the Aconal equation, which states that the distance map to a set, which was here the starting point with all possible orientations, while it obeys the so-called Aconal equation. So the dual norm is 1, the dual norm of the differential of the distance map. Okay, and we discretize this PDE by introducing a Cartesian grid, which you can see here, which is 3-dimensional, and using numerical schemes that we have developed and that use arithmetic techniques to build very efficient finite differences discretizations. Finite differences discretizations with a special form that allows us to solve the systems in a simple path using the fast-marching algorithm. Okay, so and just a word, if you don't want to take into account curvature or the tangent, if you just want to stick with a velocity that depends on just the position of the path, not its tangent, not its curvature, then you can use the classical, you can use a much simpler stencil which was known before. Okay, so we extend this. Okay, so maybe, okay, I had a very little demo just to show you that it actually works. So here I can place some obstacles. Oh, yeah, I can place some obstacles, seed points, and some source points, and compute the shortest path. Okay, and here we are solving a 3-dimensional PDE, and then backtracking paths and projecting them on the physical planar space. Okay, and you can try several models. The code is available online, and you can see that the curvature constraint is satisfied. Okay, so finally, a few numerical experiments. So here we consider the case where the player Xi places 2 cameras. Here you can see the optimal path in the curvature independent case, in the grid-shaped forward case, which penalizes a bit the curvature, but not too much, and it still allows key points where you have in-place rotations. And with the Dobbins model, which very strongly penalizes curvature, you have a threshold, a maximal value of the curvature that you cannot exceed. Here, here it is a similar a similar test case, but with a slightly different cost function, which models more or less a radar application. Okay, and the main difference here is, in fact, that in the numerical experiments, is that I show you the optimized radar positions. Okay, so here I show you the optimized radar positions, not some random camera positions as I did in the previous experiment. And what I'm using to see is that when you optimize the radar positions, when you optimize the strategy of player Xi, you get many optimal paths for player Gamma. So this is a general phenomenon. When you have a two-player game, if the first player takes a random strategy, typically there will be a unique best response from the second player. But if the first player takes the optimal strategy, then typically there will be many responses from the second player that have identical costs. So that's why we get many paths that have minimal energy. And another model again here, fresh paint-based detection. So the first player puts some paint on the domain, and the second player is detected if he comes back with paint on him. Okay, and you can see that here in the curvature independent case, the best strategy is to put some bridges of paint and in the curvature dependent case, the best strategy is a bit more complex, but you try to put some paint at the edges of obstacles in particular, because there are much more constraints on the path. Okay, so this is the end of my talk, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the presentation. At the beginning, you choose the class of game which is zero-sum game. You have other classes of game. Why did you choose this class of game?
I got a short question on the final slide with the paint. Can you explain why the paint of the Dubinskar is placed so unhomogeneously over the space?
The Dubinskar. Okay, so in all cases, the paint is placed quite inhomogeneously, because in this case you can see that you have paint at specific locations. Okay, so the well, the Dubinskar has a constraint on the radius of curvature, and for instance, here, because of the large radius of curvature, it is very tempting to take this circular arc like this. Otherwise, you have to do really a big detour like this. So the first player puts, as you can see, a lot of paint on this circular arc here, it seems, because okay, and also here, if you try to go far away in this region, for instance, you will be completely blocked. If it's completely impossible with the Dubin scar to access this region, because because of the radius of curvature, you cannot go deep inside. So it's logical that there is no paint here because it's completely inaccessible. Okay. So because of the constraints on the curvature, there are some regions where you are very likely to go, like this circular arc, and some regions like here, 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 or here, where it's completely impossible to go. Yeah, well, so it is not at all related to our specific model. It's really a general phenomenon. But let's consider this case here. So imagine that there was a unique best pass for the second player. Then the first player will put some paint just on this pass. And so the cost of this pass will increase, and it won't be optimal. So this is a contradiction. So it's impossible that you have a unique best pass, because if you have a pass that is much better than the others, then the first player will act so as to reduce it, to increase its cost, which will so increase the cost of this pass, but it will also decrease the cost of other pass. And so eventually, many paths have the same cost.